Good afternoon and welcome back to the Wismatic Virtual Conference. Our next session is Customizing Hawks for Any Environment, and our speaker today is Kate Sharp from Hawks Learning. As an educational courseware specialist at Hawks Learning, Kate has experience in implementing different course structures and redesigns across the country. Kate is passionate about providing students with adaptive resources that help them achieve their academic potential. She enjoys working directly with instructors in order to have a positive impact on students' academic success. If you have any questions during the session, please feel free to enter those into the chat section at the bottom of the Zoom room screen, and we will address them at the end of the talk. We're also giving away a $75 Amazon gift card at the end of this session. To enter for a chance to win, click the link in the chat to enter your name on the prize wheel. On that note, I'm going to hand it over to Kate.
All right. Hi, my name is Kate. As Faith mentioned, thank you so much for joining. And today I'm going to be presenting on customizing Hawks courses for any environment. That being said, I'll go ahead and start to share my screen. Just one second while I get this pulled up. And here we go. Okay, just to confirm, can you see the screen? Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Well, as I mentioned, we're going to talk about how to customize Hawks for any course environment. Before we jump in, I do want to mention all of our course offerings for math. So we do offer everything from developmental math all the way up to Calc 3 and higher level statistics. So if there's something you need, chances are we have it. And here on the next slide is some of our statistics and higher level math offerings as well. We also have a variety of titles like Pathways to College Math and Viewing Life Mathematically for non-math majors or non-STEM majors that are a little more geared towards liberal arts and applications.
Do you guys have a differential equations book?
We do not have one specifically for differential equations right now, no. We do have some content about that built into, I believe, our 2 calculus titles, maybe pre-calculus as well, but not just a separate textbook for it yet. Great question. Moving on to support, when you are selecting a course structure and you're making a lot of customizations, you want good support. You want to be able to call in with a question or an issue and get the help that you need. At Hawks, we try to make that a priority. And we have phone hours from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. If you need us and call that number, we pledge to answer the phone within 4 rings, and a live person will answer that phone. You will not get a robot. And then if you need us outside of phone hours, we also have a live chat available 24/7. And again, no robots at Hawks. There is a live person on the other end of that, so we will always get you the help that you need. We also offer unlimited training and support for both instructors and students. So we just really want to be there to support you in whatever way that we can. I also want to touch a little bit on affordability and lifetime licensing. At Hawks, we know how expensive college is without having to pay $100+ for a textbook. Because of that, we try to keep our courses and our options as low cost as possible. And we offer lifetime licensing for our software. So typically the way it works is your student will purchase an access code or a textbook, whatever it is, and they get it for the semester. And at the end of the semester, the access is gone. You return the textbook. That's that. With Hawks, if your student purchases our software, lifetime licensing means that they purchase it once and it is theirs literally for life. So this makes it really affordable and ideal, especially for multi-course sequences like Calc 1 through 3, or maybe Algebra 1 and 2, because your student can purchase our materials once and use it for all 3 courses. If you have any specific questions about pricing or you're interested in pricing for a certain title, please hop into the Hawks booth after this presentation and I'll be glad to provide some more information about that. At Hawks, we also make our content mastery based. I'll jump into that and show you exactly what I mean by that and the emphasis we place on adaptive remediation for your students' learning. So that being said, that is a great time to jump into the student experience. We'll walk through how students complete assignments in Hawks, and I'll touch on a lot of the customizations you can make there. And then from there, we'll go into the instructor side with a lot of customization options. So I'll stop sharing and just switch my screen quickly. And okay, can you guys confirm one more time you can see my screen? Thumbs up or something?
Yep, I can see it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so what we're looking at here is the Hawks student dashboard. So this is the Hawks Teach account. Right now we're in the student view. So this is what all of your students will see. And then in a minute, we'll jump into the instructor view. But right off the bat, your student can see all of their up-to-date grades in Hawks. We do integrate with all major LMS systems. So Canvas, Blackboard, Moodle, D2L. The eBooks tab is where your students will be able to see all of the eBooks for the courses they're enrolled in. The discussions tab is something that you can really choose to use a lot or not, up to you. During COVID, we found that this was really popular. Instructors were using live chat to host virtual office hours, live Q&A sessions, etc. And then with the discussion board, you can post just a comment, you can post a video, you can post a question, and your students can thread responses to that below. The bell will notify your students of any upcoming assignments that are due, and then you can also message students about an assignment directly through Hawks if you'd like as well. And then here under My Courses is where your students can see everything they're enrolled in with Hawks. I've got 2 courses preloaded in here today. We'll take a look at college algebra, but keep in mind everything I'm showing you is the same structure across all of our courses. So the first thing to point out is that your students get this mini to-do list showing them what's due today, within the week or later, so they know what's on the horizon and can plan accordingly. They can access any of their lessons directly from here, but if they click View Course, that will pull up what we call the comprehensive to-do list of everything they've been assigned for the semester. Going back to customizations, this is something that you can fully customize. So you can customize the headers. If you want to change things from due today, within the week or later, to module 1, module 2, module 3, whatever you want it to be, you can do that. You can also upload any non-Hawks assignments and have them appear in the to-do list. For example, watch my pre-recorded lecture video. You could have that shown as well. The lessons tab is where your students can see specifically the homework lessons they've been assigned. And if we were to jump into one of these, this is our 3-step learning path with Hawks. One thing that is probably the #1 complaint we get from instructors and students alike about online learning systems is that students get confused about where to go. It's not very user-friendly. You go here for this assignment, you go here for this assignment. At Hawks, we try to keep it really simple and user-friendly with just these 3 big buttons or modes every single time: learn, practice, certify. So if we were to jump into these, the learn mode houses word for word what is in our textbook and our ebook, but with interactive components. So on the first screen, you'll see what the learning objectives are for this lesson. Your students can come through, read the content. We do pull out anything that's really important in these green boxes we call engagement boxes. So your students know if it's in a green box, they need to know it. That's important. Continuing through here, we have a lot of videos embedded. So these are example level videos showing your students exactly how to work out this problem type. But we also have this watch button. And if your student clicks this, it will pull up the lesson level video. So this will show your students all the key takeaways they need from whatever lesson they're working on. We do also offer what we call Hawks TV. It's essentially just our YouTube channel where we have hundreds of videos that your students can go and watch if you do have some more visual learners who really like those videos. Okay, back to customizing. All of our content within Hawks is completely customizable. You can see here, there's a break in the page. That's because we've entered what we call a learn screen note. When you do that, the top of the screen is all of the Hawks pre-created content, and the bottom of the screen is whatever you want it to be. So you can do what we've done here and embedded a video, you can embed some PowerPoint slides, or you can make your note as simple as, hey, know how to work out this problem above, because you're going to see this on your test. Really, whatever you want your students to know, you can add within the Learn Screen note. Going back, you also can completely hide any of our pages and replace it with your own content. So if for some reason you wanted to explain something a little bit differently or wanted to tweak the content, you could replace it with your own. And then lastly, you also have the option to completely hide any of our screens if there's something you don't want to cover in your course. So after your student has been through all of the pages in the learn mode, they're comfortable with the content, they can exit and move on to practice. Now, practice, before we jump in, let me preface this with your students receive a homework grade for Certify. Step 3, learn and practice are meant to prepare your students for Certify. And so these two modes are not graded, Certify is. By default, we don't require learn and practice because we don't want to punish any of your students who can go straight to Certify, complete the assignment, and get a good grade. On the flip side of that, if you notice that students are not spending the time they should be in learn and practice, you then have the option to require it. So keep that in mind. And then within the practice mode, there are several different learning aids and features I want to point out. First of all, at the bottom of the screen, you can see all of them. We have a skip button. So if your student is comfortable with the problem type, they don't want to spend time on it, that's fine. They can move on to something they do need. So if we were to actually answer a question, this one says solve the following equation. So I'm just going to do a few little calculations. And okay, let's say input your answer. We also have this keypad here if your students need any of those tools. Click submit. Now, obviously that was the wrong answer. Pretty much any online homework system will tell your student you got it right or you got it wrong. But where we try to take it a step further with Hawks is with our explain error feedback. Because we know that if your student doesn't understand why their answer is wrong, then that's no good to them. And they'll continue to make that mistake. That being said, they can click explain error and they can see exactly what they did wrong. So you were asked to solve the following equation. The answer you submitted is incorrect. It appears you have made a sign error in your answer. So now they know exactly what part of their answer was wrong and what they need to do differently. And then on the next page, we offer them how to check their solution. So if they click next, they can see exactly how to do that. So now they know what to do differently. They can go back to practice. From there, they can click try similar, and they can receive the same type of question, but with different numbers. And we do provide 50+ iterations for all of our math questions. So your students will never receive the same numbers twice. Now, moving on, maybe we get to another problem type that your student does not even want to attempt. Say something like this, they're thrown off, they don't know how to get started. That's fine. We have this tutor button that your students can click, and this brings up step-by-step learn and solution, which if you noticed was also built into the explain error feature as well. But just to know, your student doesn't actually have to complete a question before they can get to it. They can just click tutor and it brings it up beforehand. So step-by-step is very literally what it sounds like. It will take your students through every step of solving this equation. So they can see step 1, we need to find the LCM. If your student knows how to do that, great, they can input their answer. If not, they can display the step answer, see what it is, click next. Now we're on step 2 of 4. So on and so forth until your student gets to the solution and they know every step they took to get there. Learn is also built back in here. This might seem like a small convenience feature, but students love this because if they're doing the practice note and they realize they want to review the content, they don't have to exit out of the homework to do so, pull back up the ebook and flip to find it. It's just right here for them built in. And then lastly, your student can always also view the solution, but keeping with the Hawks mentality that the solution is useless to them without the explanation of how we got there, we do give them the general procedure for solving linear equations. They can click next page and they can see exactly how we got to this answer, worked out both in numbers and in words. So, excuse me, there's one more page. Now we're at the answer. But from there, your student can then go back to practice, either try similar if they want some more work on it, or they can skip and continue to work through practice. We do encourage them to work through all of the problem types in practice. In this case, there are 15, because in Certify, they'll see every one of the problem types they encountered in practice mode, just with new numbers, different iterations. So at that point, they can exit practice, go into Certify when they're feeling good and they're ready to try for a grade. So again, this is what they'll actually receive their homework grade on. And there's really two main things to note about Certify. First being, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice we've removed those learning aids. Now, this is absolutely for your students' benefit. That's not to punish them. The number one complaint we get about test scores is professors always say, well, my students might be acing the homework, but then they're doing really poorly on quizzes and tests. Those grades aren't translating. The reason for that a lot of times is that most online systems allow your students to use learning aids on graded assignments. Now, in and of themselves, learning aids are great things. You do want your students to use them. They do help them learn. But if you're not careful, they can also really quickly become a crutch. And your student might not even realize how much they're relying on them until they're removed come test time. And then it's, whoops, I don't know how to solve this equation like I thought I did. So our mentality is use them as much as you need to in the practice mode, so that by the time you get to Certify, your students can prove to themselves and to you as their instructor that they can complete a set of questions without any outside help. And we find that that does really help those grades translate from homework scores to test scores. The second thing to note about Certify is that we make it mastery based. So what that means is that by default, we set a mastery level at about 80%. Now, like everything else, that's customizable. So if you wanted to make it 90 for your class, 70 for your class, whatever you want, you can do that. But we find that if your student gets 80% of the homework correct, that's a pretty good indicator that they have mastered that content, and they will certify as having mastered it and receive a 100 for this homework assignment. So that being said, there are 15 questions in this particular lesson with an 80% mastery level. Your students can look in the red heart, which is kind of like the lives that they have left in a video game, and see that they can miss 3 questions and still certify and receive a 100 for having mastered this homework assignment. Now, and then as your students work towards that, this medal at the end, the gauge will fill up towards the medal, but say your student misses a 4th question, or they dip below that mastery level that you set for them. It's not a bad grade and a, hey, better luck next time, but it's an opportunity. And that is where we bring in the adaptive component of Hawks. So once your student misses that 4th question, the software will take them out of Certify and put them back into practice mode, where there they'll get a custom set of questions based on what they got wrong in Certify. So it's really tailored to the individual, which we only think makes sense because student A is going to struggle with something different and need to move through it at a different pace than student B. So that allows your student to focus on what they specifically need to spend their time and energy on, and they don't have to redo the things that they're already comfortable with and successful with. That being said, keep in mind that once they're back in the practice mode, they have the tutor feature. They'll receive explain error feedback. They can try similar as much as they want until they're comfortable with that problem type. And then they can come back and try to certify again. Now, by default, we do give your students unlimited attempts to certify. Like everything else, you can customize that to X number of attempts, but we find that that's a really motivational approach for students, particularly math students, because there is a lot of math anxiety out there. Because students, a lot of times, it's, okay, if I miss question number 4, that's just another bad grade and math is stressful and I'm not good at it. Well, that's not the case. It's just that they need to work through these things at their own pace and get that remediation so that they can be successful. So when your student knows that, okay, if I miss question number 4, it's not a bad grade, but instead an opportunity for me to go back, figure out why I missed what I missed, and then try again as many times as I need to, it's really motivational for them, and students really have good feedback about that. So that is Certify, and that is the mentality there. that is pretty much everything I wanted to discuss as far as our student side. But if we were to go into the instructor side, we'll discuss a lot of the customization options you can do there. So with this Teach account, all you have to do is click Instructor Dashboard, and then it will take you right over there to the instructor side of things. Give this just a second to load. And okay, here you can see the courses. I've got college algebra loaded here. And I'll be working kind of on this menu from right to left. So just keep that in mind. The first thing we're going to start with is tools. It's really easy to set up your section in Hawks. There's only a few things you have to do. And then from there, there's a lot of customization options. But the first thing we'll need to do to get started is go to tools and manage your sections. So this is where you can create a new section. You can hide any old ones. You can also, really most importantly, you can copy over course shells. So if you made a bunch of customizations to say section 1 last spring, and you're teaching again in the fall, and you want to keep those same customizations and not have to rebuild it, what you can do is select your section and click copy settings from another section, and you can apply those settings to whatever sections you want to. So while it may take you a little bit the very first time you set up a section to get your course exactly how you want it, you only have to do that once. You don't have to rebuild it every semester. And you can also copy your course section and customizations and push it out to other instructors as well. So maybe a course admin builds this, makes the customizations, and they have 4 sections of college algebra. They can push it out to each instructor teaching each section. So it's really, what I'm getting at is that it's very easy once you get it exactly how you want it to just keep using. So after you've set up your sections, the next thing we'll do is go to grade settings. And from there, we'll go to assignment groups. So by default, we give you 3 groups, quizzes, tests, and lessons. But all you have to do to change that is click this little pencil icon, and you can rename it. So if you wanted it to be exams, modules, and lectures, whatever you wanted it to be, you could absolutely do that. From here, you can also adjust the weight of each of these sections. So you can make test worth a lot more than quizzes, or however you wanted that to be set up. You can also choose the weight distribution. So whether you want it to be an even distribution, proportional, however you want to set that up. And then you can also adjust the grading rule. So you can change it from keep all to drop the lowest, or you can select bonus to make certain assignments just for extra credit, etc. Going back to grade settings, the next thing you'll do is set up your lesson late penalty. So once that loads, all you have to do is select one of your sections. If you already have a template from a previous semester, you can just select it from the templates here and apply it. But if you don't, all you have to do is create a late penalty. So name it maybe spring 22. You can pick the penalty type. So if you want it to be fixed, that's fine. You can do a graduated penalty, 5% off for 1 day late, 10% off for 2 days late, whatever you want that to be. And then you can also share these settings and allow them to be assigned across sections and with other professors if you wish. You can also define penalties using percentage or points. So you can really structure this however you want to for your section. I'm going to undo my changes. And then after you have done that, we'll jump into assignments and some of the actual content customizations. So from the assignments tab, as I mentioned, this is where you'll go to customize any of the actual content for any of these assignments. So the first thing we'll do is go into web test, and I'll show you exactly how to customize a test. If you are question bank, put together your own. So if we were to create a web test, we will just click create web test. And once this loads, I'll show you how simple it is. It will bring up what we call our assignment builder. which will essentially be our entire pre-created question bank. And then we'll just use our drop downs to select what chapters, lessons we are looking at and go from there. Okay, so what we'll do is just click on this default curriculum. So this will bring up all of the questions in our question bank for college algebra in this case. So if you wanted to make it really quick and easy, you could say, all right, I want to add 10 questions from all of the selected lessons. Select the lessons you want, click add, and it would pre-create those assignments for you. But if you want to hand pick what goes into these assignments, you can just click on whatever chapter you're looking at, select whatever sections, and then you can click add. Oops, excuse me. And then click, say 30 questions from all of these, add, it would build the assignment on the right. But if you want to go into each specific lesson, view all of the options and pick the questions, all you have to do is click into that particular lesson. And then from there, you can say, okay, I want to assign this question, click add, it'll appear over here on the right, which is your test as it's being built. You can also notice we have difficulty levels assigned here. So you can see, okay, I want to assign, say, 3 high difficulty, 3 medium, whatever that is. So all you have to do is click add. I'm just going to add several so that we have a good test built on the right. We also have the option to get new values. So maybe you like this question, you just don't like those numbers. Click new values and it will bring up a different iteration. Again, we do have 50 different iterations for all of our math questions. And once you have added everything you'd like, I'm actually going to go back up here and we're going to switch from lesson 1.1 and add some from, say, lesson 1.2 as well. So if you were building an exam on, the first 3 chapters, all you have to do is select that from the drop-down menu and it will pull up the content from those. And then once you're satisfied with your test and you've got the number of questions you want, you can go right panel full screen. Now you only see the test that you have created, or not. You can work on it like this as well. But just for simplicity, I'll do this. You have a lot of different options here. Say this one's a high difficulty problem. You can make that a bonus question if you want to. You can make it worth more or less points per step. You can, again, change the values. And then you can also choose how you want these questions arranged. So maybe you wanted this high difficulty question at the bottom. You can use these arrows just to move questions up or down in whatever order you would like. Another customization option is this show work feature. You can click enable show work, and this is something that is relatively new at Hawks. We're really excited about. This gives your student the option to upload their work so you can see exactly how they got to that answer. And then you can also filter questions by difficulty, by whether it was Hawks created or instructor created. I'll get to that in just a moment with our question builder tool. You can sort them however you would like. And then all you have to do to assign the test is click assign. You have the option also to go to file print. You can print up to 10 different versions of your test once you've built it. Or another really great thing we offer is export to docs. If you do that, it will export your test to Microsoft Word, where there you can make little tweaks and changes. So say you wanted 20 different versions of your test, you could go in and edit values in Word and then print from there. So lots of options. And then let's see, after we have done that, let's go back to, let's see. Yeah, let's go back to the dashboard. I'm not going to save this. And then after you've gone through and assigned your web tests, built them out exactly how you want to, we can then go back to assignments and let's look at curriculum. This is how you would edit the content for any of the lessons. So the learn, practice, certify, as opposed to just the web test, which is what we were just in. You can click into the curriculum for any of your sections, and there are a lot of options right off the bat up here at the top. So You have the option to share this curriculum with other instructors. This is where you can choose how many attempts your students get to certify before it requires practice. You can allow your students to attempt any remaining questions after they achieve mastery. And then another thing I really want to highlight is this flex mastery option. This allows your students to retry a missed question within certify with new values instead of receiving a strike. So if you know that, and this is something that's more popular in higher level math courses where maybe they did everything right in a big multi-step problem, but they accidentally added a wrong sign in one of the steps, something simple where your student has a general understanding, but they just made a little mistake. Flex Mastery gives them that grace to try it again with new values rather than just receiving a strike. So you can choose to turn that on or off. You can also change the order of your questions. Here is where you can change your mastery level. So by default, like I said, we put it at 80, but this is how you would change that. You can also give your students unlimited attempts to certify, or you can limit it to X number of attempts. We've got 3 in this particular one. And yeah, just all these customization options. Here's where you can edit the number of strikes they get, the mastery level on a per lesson basis, and all of these options here below. So if we were to click into the curriculum for a particular lesson, all you have to do is click that hyperlink for whatever lesson you want to go into, and it will bring up Lesson Builder once this loads. You'll see that it works pretty much and looks pretty much exactly like the web test builder, where you'll just be able to select questions from the question bank on the left for your assignment, and you'll be able to see those questions you've selected on the right. I apologize for my Wi-Fi being a little bit slow, but you will have all the same capabilities in Lesson Builder as in a web test builder, where you can see the level of difficulty. You can change the values, you can sort it however you would like, and it really works the same way as I just showed you. But let's just add a few more in here for the sake of seeing how it works over here on the right. They'll be added. You can click new value, same situation as the web test builder. And so same functionality, but this is how you would do it for lessons. You go to curriculum instead of web test. So going back to the dashboard, the next thing we are going to do is touch on assignment builder. Or excuse me, question builder. We were just in assignment builder. And this is how you would create custom questions within Hawks. So hopefully we have all the question types you like the way we worded them, but if there's something you want to cover that we don't have, or you want to word something a very specific way, you can come into question builder and write and assign your own questions. So if you were to click, well, the first thing we need to do is create a folder. We do encourage you to create folders just so you keep yourself organized. So say chapter 1, okay. And from there you can create questions. So this is where you would come in here, you would select your question statement. So maybe you want your statement to be solve the following equation. You type in your equation, and down here you can choose whether you want it to be multiple choice. If it's multiple choice, you've got answer 1, answer 2, answer 3, answer 4. You can add as many as you would like. You can select which ones are incorrect and then choose which one is the correct answer. And then you can also, if it's one where multiple answers are correct, you can choose the weight as well. You do have the option to do free response questions, open-ended questions, a click to select if there are multiple right answers. And then we also have the option to create a graphing question as well. But we also have the option to add these tutor options. So you know how in the Hawks pre-created content, we've got explain error, tutor. If you want to add those for your particular questions that you've built, you can do that. You can add what the solution is. You can give a generic explain error, you know, maybe go back and review these 4 steps for how to solve this equation. And then you can also add in step-by-step feedback. So you can have all the same capability as far as feedback with your questions as the Hawks pre-created questions. So after you have created all your question types, you've assigned them within your lessons, that is really the crux of what I wanted to cover as far as customizations, but we've got a few more minutes. So quickly, I do want to touch on one reporting feature. Now, as you can see, we have a lot of reporting features available to you, but we're going to just talk about assignment reviewer quickly, because this is probably the main one that you'll come to. This provides a lot of insight. So if you were to go into assignment reviewer, this will show you all of the lessons you've assigned. And then down at the bottom, you can see the assignment name, how many of your students have certified, how long they spent as far as minutes in learn mode, practice mode, and certify mode. Let's see, I've got a chat. Oh, yes, thanks Ryan for that reminder. But this is really helpful, because if you see that your students are not certifying for whatever reason, you could look at it and say, okay, well, on lesson 3.2, my students spent an average of 0 minutes in learn, 2 in practice, and then they didn't certify. Well, that's probably because they're not spending the time they needed to in the learn mode and practice mode to prepare themselves for certify. You can see that information, and then you can go back to that setting to require learn and practice, or address it with the class, whatever action you'd like to take. You can actually click into a particular lesson as well, and you can get per student feedback. So say you wanted to see what was going on with Alex Bacon. You could see the number of attempts he took. Now there's nothing, well, actually there's a little bit loaded in here. This is just our demo section, so that's why there's not a lot of data. But okay, say we're looking at Sarah Peterson, and she has spent 3 minutes in learn, 7 minutes in practice, but she hasn't attempted to certify yet. But you can see that she's been working on that assignment. If you were to actually click in to analytics, this would also show you per question the feedback. So if your students had completed these assignments, you would see, okay, question 1, we had a bunch of green and then some red at the top. And then question 2, maybe there was a lot more red than green. You could say, okay, class, question 2 was missed a lot. And then you could pull up an example of what that question was and go over it in class. And then down here, you can also look at the specific questions and see what the difficulty was, how many of your students got it correct versus incorrect. And you can also see the amount of time that they spent per question. This is something that's really helpful also for kind of cheating concerns in this online environment we've been finding ourselves in. We do get a lot of questions about that from instructors. And one thing we always point is, okay, we'll see that it was a high difficulty question with 8 steps to it. It should take the student 3 to 5 minutes to complete it, for example, and you see that they completed it in 30 seconds. Well, that might be a red flag for you to address. So we do give you really detailed information right down to the minutes, seconds your students spent per question. And on that note, if you see that it's taking one of your students 20 minutes to complete this high difficulty question, you can identify, okay, well, Sarah might be struggling in that area. Let me sit down with her and provide some more help. So just a lot of options for you to get to the crux of what is going on within your class and address individual students' needs. That being said, that is really everything I wanted to cover today. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but we have some time. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions, address any concerns, and then we'll do our giveaway as well. Thank you all so much for joining.
Kate, I had a quick question. I was looking at the titles of the book.
Sure.
Our school is in the process, assuming the Board of Regents of UW allows it, we're going to be offering the traditional 2-year associate's degree soon.
Okay.
So we'll be able
Awesome.
to offer up through differential equations and linear algebra.
Right.
What's that vector analysis book?
Okay, let me actually pull up a little bit more info on that.
What course would that go to? I off the top of my head, I can't think of
Factor
one.
analysis. To be quite honest with you, math is not my specialty. I'm going to pull up the table of contents and we can kind of look through that and see
Yeah, I was
what
looking
that
at it,
might
I'm
be a
like,
good fit for.
I saw the table of contents and I'm like, where does that fit in?
Introduction to vector analysis. Let's see.
I mean, it's got a lot of analytical geometry.
Yeah, we don't have a specific geometry book. And so a lot of people will use that to replace their geometry content. Let's see, we also do each topic concepts.
Because vector fields and stuff, that seems like an oddball thrown in there.
To be honest with you, I think this is for really advanced algebra topics with a little bit of geometry in there as well. This isn't one that's used really widespread. It's a lot more specific. If you did have more questions about it and wanted to see kind of how that's implemented in a course, I could certainly put you in touch with some of our math content experts and some of our training and support reps who work with schools using this text. I'm just not as familiar with it, but there are others on our team who are.
Yeah, I know if we get approved, there's going to be a lot of changes to our coursework.
Sure.
I was looking at your calculus book too. The calculus with early transcendentals, that's one price for all 3 courses, right?
That's correct.
Because
so that makes us really popular for a Calc 1 through 3 sequence, because with that lifetime licensing, they pay once and they can use it for all 3 courses.
And then they get transferred in. So say they have me for Calc 1 and then they have somebody else for Calc 2. They just get transferred into that new course and they don't get charged anything.
That's correct.
What is the pricing for a physical paperback book and the software?
I
have nothing against my current book, but
yeah,
it's expensive. And you guys cover all the same topics. Not that that's a terribly big surprise, because everybody covers the same stuff, just in a slightly different order.
Right. So for calculus, for the software and the ebook, so everything I went through on the student side of that platform, the Learn, Practice, Certify, web test, the ebook, that is a direct to the bookstore price of $88. So you break that down over Calc 1, 2, and 3, and it comes out to a lot cheaper per course.
Yeah, it's like
and then for a
$30.
physical, and then for a physical copy of the textbook, that is $140. So that does go up just due to print cost. But again, break that down over 3 courses and you're in a lot better shape.
Yeah, that's because Cengage, I think, still charges for WebAssign for each semester. If
yes, that's my understanding.
So I have a question about this platform as well. So currently I'm using the Newton for my college algebra and the intermediate algebra.
Okay.
We kind of embedded that Newton, you know what Newton is, right?
Yes, I'm familiar.
So, yeah. Into the Canvas, which is our learning, whatever you call it, like the platform students use.
Yes.
And it's about like $40 a month, no, $40 a semester.
Okay.
And we use for many different classes. So I'm wondering how much would it be if we use that, the HOP learning system?
Sure. And you're asking about college algebra?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1 second. And I can pull that up.
It's just the software cost, the access fee, not books. Since at UW Eau Claire, we work with the bookstore work with the company something, and students don't have to purchase a textbook. They can rental it. They just pay the shipment fee. They can get a textbook. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. So for college algebra, for our software and ebook. So again, everything I went through on the student side, that is a direct to bookstore price of $68. So if you were to use that for college algebra and intermediate algebra, again, divide that by 2, and that would be your price per course, which would end up being a little bit better than the $40 per course that you're currently offering.
So it's going to be $34 per course. Do you charge it by course or by semester?
By product, if that makes sense. So if your student buys our college algebra text, it is that 68 net to bookstore price. And then they just pay that once, and that's the only time they have to pay.
So whether if they retake the class, do they have to pay again?
No, great question. It is literally theirs for life once they pay for it. So if you had a student need to drop out of the course, take it again a different semester, they would not have to pay again. If we went into a new edition, we would provide all the updated content. They would not have to pay again.
So I'm assuming, can it be embedded with the Canvas system?
Yes. Okay. We do integrate with all the major LMS. So Canvas, we offer deep linking, grade syncing, everything.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Great question.
My colleagues. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it was good.
Good. I'm glad you think so.
Yeah, since the price is a very important aspect for the students, for us to think if we want to use it or not. Like if it's over $100, like Pearson product, and we give up the Pearson product because it charges too much.
Absolutely.
And we switch it to Cengage and not like Newton, which is way cheaper. Yeah.
Yeah, that's something we try to, something we're really proud of is our pricing, because we hear all the time, well, the number one thing that's going to prevent your students from being successful in your course is if they can't afford the materials. So we do try to keep it as low cost as possible and cut the cost as much as we can even further with that lifetime licensing.
Do you also offer like 2 weeks free trial period, like courtesy period?
Great question. We do give your students 20 days of free temporary access. So if they're waiting on financial aid to come through or anything.
Yeah, sometimes student wants to just take the class and they probably want to drop it, something happening in the beginning of the semester.
They get it free for 20 days.
Okay, thank you. That would be nice too.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
I have another question. Now, I know it's been ages since our school ever did this, and I don't even remember what company did it, but they put together a special edition where the company combined various book chapters and created their own book from this publisher.
Right.
Is that something Hawks does, or?
I will say it has been done, but very rarely. We don't usually offer that because we have so many customization options that it ends up being a lot cheaper for the school, usually just to kind of customize the content rather than print a special edition. And so
I'm not talking about printing a physical book special edition, but like within the software, do we have access?
Oh, sure.
Like if I like the Viewing Life Mathematically book has most of the chapters that I would need for quantitative reasoning, and then I go to the Mathematics with Applications for Business and Social Sciences, and which goes far more in depth. I mean, it looks like it's a combo.
That one's a little bit higher level.
Yeah, it looks like a combo course between applied calculus and college algebra.
That one is usually used kind of for calculus for non-STEM majors. That's a really common application.
Yeah, like could I steal chunks within the software, like the probability chunk from the math with apps and some of the statistics? It might even be down by section. Same with the finance part, mathematics of finance.
We have offered that before. If it's something that, you really need this chapter from this book, we absolutely can help do that within the software. Now, it's not something we tend to offer extensively, like pull, 8 chapters from 8 different books. But if you said, okay, I like this book, but I want 3 or 4 of these chapters from VLM, Viewing Life Mathematically, or something like that, we could absolutely help with that.
Yeah, I'm looking at the opposite direction. I like viewing life mathematically, if I can spit it out.
Tongue twister.
But some of the more in-depth things that I think would be helpful from math with applications.
Yeah,
would be
that could
helpful.
definitely be done.
I mean, the mathematics of finance chapter, the probability and statistics chapters,
Yeah.
those would be something that would be nice to pull into that software.
Sure.
And add that extra depth, especially because it doesn't look like in viewing life mathematically that there's a real deep thing on simple and compound interest and annuities. It's more of this is what it does, but not how to calculate it.
Right.
But we go a little deeper in that part.
Yeah, that's something you'd be able to pull, specific chapters or sections even that you wanted and integrate that into.
And I'm sure there's some overlap, like collecting and displaying data and the statistics. There's probably overlap with that and the
right
viewing life mathematically. And I don't know why I can't spit that out, but
it's hard. It gets me sometimes.
Yeah, because it's like the first 3 sections. Actually, the statistics one looks like as much as we would need. Only a few sections probably from the probability one, and yeah, this would to me would be a better book than what we're doing now, especially if we switch everything up with the possibility of being a full associate's degree liberal arts institution.
Well, that sounds great. If you're interested, we'd love to help however we can as far as all those customizations and, pulling exactly what you need to help build you what you need. So that's exciting. I hope that works out for you guys.
Yeah, there are big meetings next week or the week after. I know it's the first part of October.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it works.
What I'm going to do is I'm going to chat in my Hawks email here for both of you. So if you ever
one more question about the stats class. So what software do you use for the data analysis part? For example, in the Pearson, they use StatCrunch. For the WebAssign, they use a statistical analysis and a learning tool, which is called SALT. They call it SALT, Statistics Analysis and Learning Tool. StatCrunch, which is a Pearson product. So what do your company use for that data analysis part?
We use, let's see, I'm actually going to share my screen quickly. I just pulled that up so I could quote you the correct thing. So we offer Minitab, SPSS, JMP, and RGuru. So we have different bundling options with those depending on what specifically you needed.
Okay, so how much is the price for this class, like if we use for the platform, your software?
Okay, let me see specifically what it is for statistics. Let's see, price.
Yeah, in the spring, we use the WebAssign when COVID happened.
Yeah. Is that a beginning statistics course or a little bit
just
higher
elementary
level?
statistics.
Oh,
elementary statistics.
So with Hawks for the software and the ebook, which would include the mini tab or whatever you were using, that would be $68 net to the bookstore.
Okay, thanks.
Absolutely. And if you ever have any further questions or want to find out if you can get some free review copies or anything specific, I did put my email in the chat. So I am the Hawks rep for the state of Wisconsin. So I'm always available to listen, help, provide any insight.
Thank you.
So it's no longer, I get an email from somebody else all the time.
It may be your training and support representative.
Yeah.
If you're, So I'm kind of on the material side of things as far as getting you set up with the correct textbook, things like that. But then your training and support rep will still be your rep as far as technical service.
Gotcha.
So any kind of content, materials, questions is me. And then any specific setup tech issues would be your training and support rep.
All right, well, if there are no more questions, it looks like we are out of time. And thank you, Kate, for that valuable information you shared with us today.